It's a good day. It's a good day. It's a good day. What's up, LL?
Oh
It's a
my
good day,
gosh.
bro. It's
Yeah,
NBA Media Day. There's
that's
nothing
right.
better, right? Nothing better than having college football, the NFL, and the NBA on its way. It's
That
NBA Media Day. It's absolutely fantastic day. And you were just talking about your boy, Jimmy Butler. Your boy.
my boy. No, sir.
Yeah, your boy Jimmy Butler. It's not my boy,
Zaire.
dude.
Not your boy?
Nah. I was never a huge Jimmy Butler fan when he was here in Chicago. At that point in time, I was actually working with WGN radio, and we had a little run in the locker room, bro. Little run in the locker
Oh,
room. Yeah,
nice.
this is when Jimmy got the big head. They had, moved Derrick Rose to New York. He thought he was the man in Chicago. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
dude,
Cut it out.
relax. But no, a woman in the locker room getting audio, and you have the recorder, but then I have my phone, right?
Right.
So I'm trying to get video and I'm setting up my phone, and something was wrong with my phone, right? So like I'm doing this and I'm looking at my phone trying to do something, and it was pointing at him and someone else in the
Oh,
locker
so he
room.
thinking you trying to get him on the
He thought
low.
I was trying to sneak record him. And I'm like, and he's like, what the F is this? Right? And
You
he's
like,
talking
nah,
all of a
bro.
sudden, right now, all of a sudden, Bull Staff looks at me and he's like, man, what the hell is this? And I'm like, dude, who are you talking to? Because he
Oh
thought
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he
It's
thought I
up.
was one of those quiet dudes. And I'm
Yeah,
like, dude, who
yeah.
are you talking to? He was like, you trying to record me? And I'm like, dude, I'm doing something on my phone. Ain't nobody thinking about you.
Right.
And he didn't
Right.
like that. And Bull Staff kind of was like, man, come on, let's.
Yeah, yeah. Don't hurt him, Shaun. Don't hurt him.
No, it wasn't about don't hurt him. It was just like at that point, like, all right,
Yeah,
we gotta
yeah.
look out for our, for the athlete,
That's
But I
cool.
was like, I'm not that dude.
That's
I'm
right.
like, fam, like I don't know who you screaming at, but
Screaming, huh?
nah, bro. At that point in time, he was what 6'6". Jimmy's probably 6'6", 230.
Yeah, he kind of little for real.
Yeah, and at that time, I'm like 6 feet 250.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Ready, ready, oh,
you
ready for
not
something,
about to
ready.
push me around. Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
right.
Like you're not
That's
about
right.
to push me around, and you're not about to scream at me. Like I'm a
Yeah,
grown man, dog. I'm a grown a man, dog. So
that's right.
you, we can stop this. But no, I've never been a Jimmy Butler fan, dude. And the dreadlocks are ridiculous. The dreadlocks are ridiculous. You're a clown, bro. You're a clown. I don't know what he's doing. You can throw him on the petty train for that bull. He's a clown. But he's always been he's an attention dude, man. He needs attention. He needs somebody to rub his back, goes back to his background, family background. He just needs approval all the time, man. Like you go somewhere with that. Lucky Lefty podcast, man. Today we're gonna give you the three things we learned from the weekend. That's coming up on the show. Top of the hour. It's the Players Lounge each and every Monday. Of course, we had Cam McDaniel week one. Then we had our guy CJ Procyse, and it's only perfect that we have the gentleman that we have coming on today after having three running backs, all total 100 yards in total yards against North Carolina. So we might as well have a legendary running back from Notre Dame join us on the Players Lounge.
That's right.
Reggie Brooks. We call him the OG. He'll be joining us today. I want to talk about that running game and that offensive line and setting the tone. The title of today's show is that support system, bro. Because I've seen a lot of chatter on message boards, social media about the performance of Drew Pyne from the second half of Cal through North Carolina And we said this would happen. We said this was what happened. What did I warn people? I said when Drew Pyne starts winning games, or Notre Dame starts winning games, don't fall into the trap that they're winning games because of Drew Pyne. Like don't fall into that trap.
Don't do that.
It's not because of. The support system is so much better in the last two games than it was in the first two games. For whomever was at quarterback, you need a support system to play at the level that they're currently playing, and hopefully they're going to continue to get better. But what sticks out with you after watching the game again, looking at some film? What sticks out to you about Drew Pyne and what you've seen from him from Cal to North Carolina?
Well, the thing you see the most is just what we talked a little bit about is it being him more comfortable under what Tommy's trying to do with his offense. A lot of creativity you saw, which allowed it for easy touchdowns, which I think Tommy, takes pride in his play design and being able to, give a lot of different looks and different scheme. And Drew being a veteran and his getting through the nervousness and now being more of a guy that Tommy is able to call these plays with, you're starting to see the offense come alive a little bit more of what, probably the vision was going into at the beginning of the season. I do think that going against a defense that as terrible as they are, for us to do what we're supposed to do and look good doing it, I think it's a good momentum and confidence boost, especially coming off of a distasteful loss against Marshall, and a game that we felt like we left a lot of points on the field against Ohio State. So I do think that doing what we're supposed to do against a team that wasn't better than us is going to lead for more momentum, especially going into the rest of the season.
And it's going to be very important, especially in this bye week. How do you were you a fan of the bye week? Like you get rolling, right? You finally win two in a row. You're improving as a team. This bye week, do you think it's going to continue to be instructional and beneficial for Marcus Freeman and his staff? Or do you think the players would rather just continue the trend and get better and play week to week?
Yeah, I think everything has a purpose. You need a bye week to kind of reset yourself, evaluate where you are in the season, recover on some of the nicks that you have, and just kind of get a chance to get a landscape and view of what else is going on in college football. Uh, but I do think there's a benefit to it. I think it's players understand it more than what a fan probably would in terms of appreciation. Some guys get to go home if they live closer, get to take some time off. So I do think uh, having a little break is good to have, especially with this type of schedule we have every year. So it's not too bad.
Lucky Lefty podcast. I'm Shaun Davis, original Lucky Lefty himself. Malik Zaire, brought to you by Onora Whisky, OnoraWhisky.com. It's that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhisky.com. And if you drink, by all means, make sure that you drink.
Responsibly.
Yo, said told me to tell you what's up, bro. He
Man,
was
my
in town. He was in town for his 45th birthday last night. We kicked it
very nice.
downtown, rooftop, did our thing. So he was like, "Yo, tell Malik." I said, "What's up?" I said, "Most
Absolutely.
definitely." He had to come home to really celebrate his birthday with his people.
That's how you do it, man.
You have
That's how
to.
you do it.
Can't always do it LA style, even though LA is absolutely. Let me get my Stephen A for a second. LA is absolutely amazing. It really is. It really is. I'm trying to figure out a way to drive up for a few hours while we're out there for Vegas in the
That's right.
BYU
No,
game.
yeah,
Like, man, how can I sneak a little time to go ahead and drive up to LA? Let's get back to the Fighting Irish. Give me the three things you learned this weekend from this team, and then I'll give mine.
first thing is that if we do what we know we can do, the talent can flourish and we can make it look easy out there offensively. Defensively, we're going to do what we know we can do. And with us having more breaks, we can cause more turnovers, we can cause more havoc. And I think settling in on defense, not playing 90 plus plays a game, I think will in turn not only give us more chances to score more points, but we see the effect of how it can the defense can widen the gap, especially if we start to catch fire on offense. So, and the last thing, I loved how we had great field position all game, special teams. Shout out to them. Marcus Freeman being able to have all three phases of the game against a team that's not uh, a, an Arkansas State or a non-power five team. It's a good win to feel good about, especially resetting and trying to go undefeated the rest of the season.
My number one thing that I learned this weekend is that Notre Dame is still talented enough to beat the teams they're supposed to beat on their schedule.
That's right.
I'm not sure I felt that way 2 weeks ago, bro.
Mm-mm.
I'll be honest. I was in my emotions and taking a step back in the last 2 weeks. I recognized that, you know what? This team is still talent wise good enough to go 9-3, 10-2 with a little bit of help, especially after watching USC struggle with a physical team, the first physical team in test that they faced this weekend, coming away with a 3-point victory on the last second touchdown. I'm starting to feel good about the matchups. That secondary that Clemson has, not scared at all to go up against them. Hopefully, the passing game for Notre Dame and Tommy Rees will have developed by the time they reach those two teams in November. So yeah, that's the number one. That's one thing. Second thing I learned: this staff can coach.
That's right.
This staff can coach. Like, you can say what you want to say about the first two games. This staff proved you can make a team better week to week. Al Golden can come up with his game plan to make Drake May and that offense one dimensional. Fantastic. Adjusting the pass rush, going from flying upfield to making it a collapsing pocket, and the defense as a whole doing a better job, much better job of game tackling and getting to the quarterback when he broke contain. And what they did, confusing him pre snap and making him hold the ball, absolutely amazing. Yeah, could they have finished the game better in the secondary? Absolutely. You don't want to see that. Could Aldrich Estime have not fumbled the ball going into the end zone? Absolutely. But Notre Dame dominated that game. Notre Dame dominated that game. You see the adjustments. Tommy Rees had his best game of the season as far as play calling. And the offensive line continues to get better with each week. They took over the game against Cal halfway through. They continued that trend and they dominated from the jump against North Carolina. They're going to have the opportunity to do the same thing against BYU because their BYU defense is there for the taking. And I feel like Jaron Hall is going to get similar attention, the BYU quarterback that Drake May got. We're going to shut this run game down and make you beat us through the air. And if you can throw for 500, we'll tip our cap. If not, Notre Dame has the horses to get that win and then go on and pretty much run the table with Stanford, UNLV, and Syracuse remaining in the month of October. So my third thing that I found out, our two freshmen are our best defensive backs. I found that out this weekend, bro. That's
That's
with
right.
the caveat. That's with the caveat because Cam tweaked his hamstring again late in the game and
Yep.
ran off the field. That's with the caveat that Cam Hart gets back to 100%. But now you have the opportunity to say, Cam, bye week, hopefully you're healthy. If you're not healthy going into BYU, relax.
Yeah.
Relax. We got you. But our two freshman defensive backs, Benjamin Morrison and Jaden Mickey, they're the best defensive backs we have. And that right there is a really good feeling. And it's great for recruiting. It's absolutely fantastic for recruiting to see both guys getting reps. Benjamin Morrison had 49 snaps. Only 5 balls went his way, bro. I think people are watching film and figuring out like, nah, I don't think we want to try him.
Not at all.
Nah. So for me, those are the three things that I found out this weekend about Notre Dame. So moving forward, ultimately, the standard has been set. There's going to be a tremendous support system that allows Drew Pyne to play at a really good level. And if he can play, we've been asking Drew Pyne to give us 2 touchdowns and 200 yards.
That's
What
it.
he did, he superseded that. So that's like cherry on top of the whipped cream in the sundae. What he gave us against North Carolina. Moving forward, if he just gives us 200 and 2 touchdowns, no mistakes, no interceptions, man, we're cooking with grease.
That's right. I think it's like you said, man. It's been very cool to see us look like how we felt like we should come out looking versus Ohio State. And I think at the end of the day, if we can just continue momentum
Mm-hmm.
in the right direction, I think especially seeing how these other teams look like Clemson. I thought the Clemson game wasn't going to be close, but man, their defensive backfield, like you said, their secondary looks like there's a lot of things that with what we have can take advantage of it. Looking at the rest of the schedule, USC, a team that's physical, putting it on them. They're not high flying. Jordan Addison had 3 receptions, even though one was a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's that's pretty good if we had that. I can live with that. 3 receptions and a touchdown. I can live with that. And to limit them to 14 points against a defense that probably won't hear about for the rest of the season just because it's Oregon State. I think we can give them a lot of trouble still because USC, like you said before the season started, they still don't have an offensive line.
No, they
They
still don't.
still don't have a defensive line. So we're good.
They
And if
just
we're
lost one of their biggest defensive players on the D line and injury this week. We said it. Injuries are going to happen. We play them late. It's not like we're playing them in October. We're playing them late.
I
So
know,
attrition, injuries, a lot of things can happen by then. And I fully expected that their depth would be challenged going into November. And we're starting to see it right now with the loss of one of their best defensive linemen to injury for the season.
that's right. That's right. And so I just think it's gonna get hard for them because if they're struggling with this team, just imagine them playing us. Just imagine them playing Oregon and Washington State and all the other ones. So they have enough issues on their hand. But for us, I think we're going to continue to get stronger. Like you said, we're cooking with grease in the fourth game of the season, and a week of getting ready and preparing and building on that. It's going to be tough to beat us down the stretch. Like I said, even though the season's probably over, we can still play somewhere close in the January 6th, finishing the right way.
Absolutely. So you talk about this season sitting at 2-2. Ultimately, as we always say, and we've said for a while, this season is all about Notre Dame. It's flat out all about Notre Dame. How they progress, the work they put in, the fact that Marcus Freeman has them coming back immediately from games and practicing on Sundays. I don't even know if that's the norm, but it's like, okay, that's we get right back to work. He talked about the break. They're going normal reps, normal practices. He's not giving them a break during the bye week. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, put the foot on the gas. Clearly, we're not a team that can take off right now.
Hmm.
So it'll be better for us to just, especially if I'm Marcus Freeman, not lose any type of momentum, especially in the sense that this is not the time to feel like this is a relaxing moment just because we beat a team we were supposed to, especially a team that doesn't have a great defense. So until we can play well against teams with great defenses, I think, he knows what the end goal is.
And that's important, right? You mentioned something right there. Beating teams that we're supposed to beat and getting back to that feeling that when we walk in your place, we're coming to decimate you, right? We play the close games at home majority of the time, it seems like. But now walking into North Carolina, really demolishing them, and it's not even close. The two late touchdowns made it look much closer than it was. But just in totality, what this team is doing, how they're progressing, you can tell they're being coached and they're being developed. Where's the ceiling for this team?
The ceiling is getting to somewhere in January, even though I don't think it's going to be a championship
Hmm.
uh, in terms of a national championship. But I do think that it's going to be great to see us respond from an early struggle and strong finish, especially for Marcus Freeman to continue to build and close out on some of these recruits. We can still close out on Impemba with a great win against Clemson. It'll be a top whatever showdown still. And I think we can show that if we have dominance, maybe that'll enlighten our recruitment that maybe we can get the interest of Keon Keeley back. So I think it's about recruiting and finishing somewhere strong enough to where we can still go into the next season with momentum with a better quarterback.
Lucky Lefty Podcast. We appreciate you tapping in with us today. Brought to you by Onora Whisky, OnoraWhisky.com, that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhisky.com. Coming off a dominant 45-32 win in Chapel Hill against the North Carolina Tar Heels. One of the best things that I saw, I loved Mac Brown getting that penalty, bro. Like, I love seeing older veteran head coaches getting upset. They're usually calm, cool, and collective. But I understood. I would have been upset as well if I was Mac Brown in that situation to get the big stop on 4th and goal and to have that penalty go against me. But that was one of my most enjoyable moments of that right there, seeing Mac Brown's, snapping on the officials. But you know
Yeah,
what Monday brings, bro. Monday brings the Players Lounge right here on Lucky Lefty Podcast. And we had to get this week, it's only right because Lou Holtz would have absolutely loved to have three running backs go over 100 yards in total yards in one game. That was like a vintage Lou Holtz call game.
oh
And
yeah.
Tommy Reese had his best game of the season. So it's only right that we have one of the best running backs in Notre Dame history into the Players Lounge. We welcome Reggie Brooks into the Players Lounge today. What's up, OG?
What's going on, fellas? Good to
How
hear
you
from
feel?
you. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
We had to. We had to.
Yes, sir.
You have been connected to this program and you are watching what Marcus Freeman is going through. Tell us about what you've seen from him
Mhm.
in the first four games, going from being 0-2, now 2-2, going into the bye week. Have you seen him grow as a head coach?
Oh, without a, I in watching this game,
I think we lost him. Did we lose him?
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think we lost him for a second.
Let's kick him right quick and hope he gets back in. But yeah, we're watching, asking about Marcus Freeman's growth as a head coach and whether or not he's seen it. What have you seen from him the first 4 weeks and how he's grown as a head coach? Because he was honest saying he was going to be finding himself game by game.
Yeah, I think it's just unfortunate the second game was a loss.
Yeah.
And so it's like people are looking at it a little bit differently. I think we were accepting of the first one, knowing the challenge, but we just wanted it to be one where we can see a hopeful future, which I thought we saw a lot of hope in the defense. And it was early on what we wanted to address with the offense, which is good to know your issues game one.
Yeah.
Game two was a surprise, which I think took people a little off kilter. But if it wasn't for game two's loss, we would be probably right on schedule at 3-1 we would just know that we would still have playoff contentions at 3-1.
Yeah. Right. We have
Sorry,
Reggie Brooks
fellas.
back.
Bad. Okay, because like gotta love technology. Then you can't stand technology because like everybody's tapped in. But I was gonna say I remember before the season started, for the Ohio State game, me and Malik had a conversation, and
Yeah,
I
conversation.
I gotta say, I just want to know, was I was I corrected my assessment? I just got to get you. I always love to hear from the QBs because they know the game, and you know it. I just got to get some acknowledgement on you know how that game went and my what I thought the concerns were.
Okay, so we did talk, and the biggest thing that it was is that we weren't going to be able to handle the offense of Ohio State, which I feel like I was correct in saying that we
I
had
agree.
enough to stop that part, or
Yes,
to not be this, oh, this 60 point, oh, we have no chance. They're just running all over. I was refuting that on a lot of bases. Now, offensively, yeah, you were right from the standpoint of Tyler not, being as comfortable, not having that much experience, even though I felt like we weren't as aggressive as we were, like, for instance, last game. We wasn't out there running throwback specials and all type of downfield stuff either. So I think for what he was asked to do, he ran the ball really hard, but in a game like that, we need to be throwing that thing. And so you were right on that aspect, but defensively, I think we held our own up to that part.
Yeah, we're just letting him get his picture right. Lucky Lefty podcast. Reggie Brooks with us this week on the Players Lounge. And I knew how you felt. I knew how you felt, Malik, as far as my whole thing with the defense going up against Ohio State is that they only had one wide receiver that had a large sample size. Like the rest of them, that was going to be their first big time start on the big stage as well. So that you
Yeah.
couldn't assume that they were just going to come out and be on fire. And it's amazing how the further that offense gets away from Notre Dame, the more explosive they look. Like it's amazing. Like, oh, you can score 50 and 60 on everybody else, but when you play Notre Dame, you were held down.
well, like I said, our defense. I felt our defense would be able to compete. Especially our front seven. I will say I was pleasantly surprised by the way our the back end performed. I mean, they have been the surprise for me because, like I said, we've kind of struggled at the corner position, but a lot of those guys really stepped up and showed themselves. So I agree with Malik in terms of, and I do believe I agree with you on that. Like I said, I felt our defense would compete, but I just said our offensive line just didn't seem to be where we needed them to be to have success. And you saw the difference between this offensive line and the running game and the type of running game we had from this last game to Ohio State. I think we could have, if we'd have ran more downhill power offense run game against Ohio State, I really felt we'd had the success that we're having now. And it's, again, we're starting to find out the identity of this team, which I felt has been that same way all along, is that you got to be able to play downhill, let these offensive linemen come off the ball and drive block as opposed to zone blocking.
Now talk about that as a running back. Zone block versus drive blocking. Like specifically, what are you talking about, and why is that more of an advantage for Harry Heastand in this offensive line?
Well, if you're going to zone block, you have to be on the exact same page as an offensive line unit. You cannot have a guy, and this has happened a couple of times, seeing guys passing guys off to nobody. You're going to zone blocking is your outside step, and you're looking to work up. And you got outside zone versus inside zone, but the offensive line has to be in lockstep on the same page, and particularly the offensive guards and the centers, if you're going to be successful with the zone read concept. And like I said, most of the we're used to seeing those offensive linemen like Ronnie Stanley, Quentin Nelson, Zach Martin, Nick Martin, Ryan McGlinchey. This is not that offensive line, but they have the capacity to get there. But with drive blocking, you're not taking that out, that reach step. You're coming downhill, and for back, when you see guys, like I said, get on that double team and drive the ball, create that new line of scrimmage, you can press the hole more. And if you watch the difference in how our guys were running previous few games, they would look a little tentative because zone blocking, you're trying to find that gap. You're trying to read to find the gap. Where drive blocking power in the power game, you're just coming downhill. And that's when Estime is at his best. Man, that big boy, he coming downhill. Whew. I was like, man, I was getting getting some flashbacks as Jerome Bettis with that big boy rolling downhill.
Him coming downhill is an automatic 4+ yards because he's falling forward. And it's good to see him being able to create holes running the football. I mean, being and helping that O-line on that second, third level, and they don't need to get a whole body. They just need to chip a guy because Aldrick is running through those arm tackles, which gives the offense confidence. If you can just dial up an Aldrick 4+ yard gain, you can open up that offense to be more dangerous on second and third down. So I think that's the safe haven of our offense. When in doubt, hand it out to Aldrick Estime. And then you get the dynamic ability of a Chris Tyree off tackle. That's how you mix it up. You got a defense focused on making tackles in the box and then having to chase guys like Chris Tyree. It's a good dynamic with those two. And then I didn't even know Logan Days can catch the football. So
No, like I said, you got two running backs that are very versatile. Well, three, but Chris Tyree is good out the backfield. Logan Diggs is kind of a combination of a smaller version of Audric and then a more powerful version of Chris Tyree. He has that ability to get through and break those arm tackles, but he also has that speed to get to the edge. And like you said, when you have those offensive linemen are coming off the ball, you're going to see those safeties and linebackers start to creep up to take advantage of say, hey, I got to stop this run. These boys are coming with it. So as soon as they, crash down, you got a guy like Tyree and Logan that can bounce that thing out there and get to the edge. And it just puts a lot of pressure on the defense when you have such a force, when you're dominating the line of scrimmage, and then you got the play action pass that comes off of that. It was just, but it was just I was talking on the post game show on Saturday, and I was like, that was the best game I've seen this year, them play just from an offensive standpoint, because they were in rhythm. You could see Drew, he got into a rhythm and Tommy got into a rhythm calling plays. But it's amazing how successful you are when the offensive line is controlling the line of scrimmage. You can call pretty much anything. It is going to go well.
So when you talk about that offensive line moving forward, a lot of people, this is something, I forgot who we were talking to. I think it was CJ last week on the Players Lounge, CJ Procise, and he was saying and reiterating what Malik has been saying, is that the Notre Dame fan base and all the names you mentioned, Reggie, on the offensive line, historically, we've been spoiled. Like, we've been so used to a high level offensive line play that when Notre Dame's offensive line play kind of came back to the pack to a more normal college football offensive line play,
we were just not impressed. We were
right,
just like, oh, this is so unimpressive. What is this? Just average O-line stuff.
Right. Right. And Malik kept saying, like, no, this is normal O-line play. Just relax and allow these young guys, specifically the young tackles, to grow and get better, and allow Harry Heastand to put his hands on them. And now you're starting to see, what's coming of Harry Heastand's impact returning to Notre Dame.
And I think that's a key aspect. And I knew that coming in. I was like, hey, this is not going to be an overnight change, because when you're playing, when an offensive lineman, they have to be able to communicate. And basically, we were missing simple stunts, simple tackle looping around, and we weren't passing it off. And that's communication. I mean, when you have an offensive line that's on the same page, they're playing like one one entity, 5 guys playing as one entity. And you got to give some credit to our linebacker. I mean, our tight ends. I mean, yeah, we talk about Michael Mayer. They talk about him catching the ball, and I mean, he's one of the best without a doubt. But he's darn good pass blocker, run blocker, and that is the key piece. That when you have that, that's when you get those outside. When you got a tight end that can seal that edge and set the edge, and not that let that defensive end get up the field. That's when you can get to the edge. When you can create that new line of scrimmage, which is what they were doing this game, creates a whole different dynamic in the backfield, as well as the pass game. I watched a couple of times again. Looked like the tight ends blocking down those linebackers were jumping up in that hole, and boom, open it up on the back end. You know, those seam routes, the digs, those came open because of the success we had running the football.
Do you think this same offense could have been, just being fair, could Notre Dame's offense have been as successful if the offensive line play was at that same level with Tyler at the helm?
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, you look at Tyler. My biggest thing with Tyler was, like I said, he was late with the football. It's not that he was not going to the right place with the football. He was late. And I always go back to this Braden Lindsey was doing an over route, and he held the ball instead of letting it go. On those 2 interceptions, if you're going to throw that out route, you better drive. And Malik, you know this, you better drive that thing out there. You can't be late with it. When he's coming out of his break, that ball needs to be gone. So it's a timing thing. So I don't think it would have, you know, he would have had success in this game because we were able to run the football and we dictated tempo as the game went on. It wasn't the other way around.
Lucky Lefty Podcast, Players Lounge, each and every Monday. Our guest this week, former Notre Dame legendary running back Reggie Brooks, joins us right here. We're brought to you by Onora Whisky, OnoraWhisky.com, that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhisky.com. Did you get some yet, Reg?
Oh yeah. I've been on that for a minute. So let's, you know, I love a good bourbon.
That's right.
So Reg says something, and Reg can speak to this. He's probably one of the only people that can speak to this because he's had experience in the backfield and in the defensive backfield. And he talked about being surprised about the play of the secondary this year. Before you came on, you know, each week we do the 3 things that we learned from the game. And one of the things that I learned, and a lot of people might feel like it's hyperbolic, but I said, I learned that the 2 freshmen are our best 2 defensive backs. That's just how I feel.
Ben Morrison. Oh my God. So I played with his dad at Washington.
Okay.
Oh, really?
I knew about him before he got there.
Got it.
I mean, those young guys, I was like, well, okay, now you got some guys out on the perimeter that can compete.
That might, you know, give some guys some trouble now.
Yeah, but the thing about it with that, you've seen how it's cost Lewis and Cam Hart to step their game up. And that's the best way to get guys to get better is when young guys are chomping at the heel. That's why that running back
up. It's obvious. Like when Cam don't have a great play, it's obvious because everybody else is doing really good. Even Clarence Lewis may give up a play, but he's making plays. You know?
And that comes from competition. The better the competition, it elevates your game. Because again, I was in the backfield with. Go ahead.
Except at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, but okay, Malik, you got to think. When is it? I mean, as a quarterback, at this point, why would you come to Notre Dame? Have we seen quarterbacks get?
The only way I'm coming to Notre Dame right now is if I'm CJ Carr, where I'm guaranteed I'm starting as a freshman. And they not recruiting the guy the year before me.
Right.
That's the only way. Exactly. And that's the way you should do it. If you're gonna start this quarterback train, that's how you do it.
But you gotta have you gotta see growth. If I'm a quarterback, I need to see growth at that position. That's what we need to see is growth at that position. because again, if I'm an offensive lineman, yeah, I'm coming to Notre Dame because they turned out all pros left and right. If I'm a tight end, I'm coming to Notre Dame because they turned out all pros. Running backs, if Kyron hadn't gotten hurt, man, he might be starting for the Bills right now. I mean, that kid is that good. So, and when you see.
Oh, then we lost him.
There it is.
Yeah. So that's my take on that. Competition breeds excellence.
Yeah, I agree with that. Man, for me, because a lot of people, Reggie, are upset that Tobias Merriweather, is not getting on the field at the wide receiver position. They're seeing Chris Salerno get snaps, snaps to block, snaps to just pretty much just be the outlet in the red zone. And they're asking, man, why can't Tobias Merriweather do that? Especially when you see the young defensive backs getting in the field. You saw your young tight ends, Holden Stays and Eli Raritan, both getting serious reps. And people are just trying to figure out what is going on with Tobias Merriweather and his playing time. But, we try to let them know, like, different positions mean different things. And I'm not, by no means, am I defending Tobias Merriweather not being played. But, it might be easier to come in and play earlier as a defensive back rather than a linebacker who might have some communication responsibilities early on that you might not get on the outside as a defensive back. Do you see it that way since you played at defensive back? And then your thoughts on the linebackers for Notre Dame.
Well, from a defensive back standpoint, I could see the development and guys out there competing. Again, I don't know. I'm not at practice, but if I'm a coach, if you show up in practice, I'm looking at you. If you're not taking care of business in practice, I got a question and say, hey, can I trust you? Because that was the kind of the thing with Drew Pyne. It was like, he was a gamer, but it was questionable. If, like I said, he made some mistakes in practice. Like I said, you play like you practice. So, step your game up and go out and demand that you get that playing time. And also from the defensive back standpoint, these guys, they came in with this impression that, hey, I got a chance to start simply because there's some more opportunity there because of how the play has been previously. And you got to come in and, like I said, set that tone. And our linebacking core, you can see Al Golden's impression on those guys. Good leadership. Those guys, like I said, calling the plays. Leofau, I mean, wow. He has come back strong. He has come back from that injury strong. His instincts are there. And, certain guys flash to you. He's one of those guys that flash when he's making plays. I'm watching, like I said, redirect when he's on a blitz. He senses what the quarterback, because they had a running quarterback. He was able to redirect, come in, and stop those quarterback draws. Those are the things, again, that, are instinctual. That, yeah, you can learn it, but you got to have it within you to understand, recognize fronts, recognize plays, and how teams are trying to play you. Just like as a defensive back, if I'm cover 3, cover 2 man, I can know my position, but I also got to understand what other guys are doing around me, so I'm playing my role as a sitting corner. And even like I said, the ability as a cover 2, hey, if I don't get anything in my area, I can drift back and take away that corner route, even if something's in the flat, because I know I can drive up on the ball. But just recognition, play recognition, formations, these are things that, as a defensive back, if you get there and you pick up quicker, you're going to play sooner.
And it's interesting. I think week to week, Al Golden is starting to learn the true strengths of the players on his defense rather than them being tied into just a position.
Yeah.
You look at the usage of Maris. He was more on the outside, blitzing from the outside, being used, like you said, spine and more in space rather than just a traditional inside linebacker where he has to read and then react. Al Golden was putting him in more positions just to go react and play and use his ability. And, that was one of Malik's concerns after the third game. Like, man, Maris really isn't giving me the impact that I thought he was going to give me. But I think Al Golden is starting to figure out a way to put him in more advantageous situations so that he can make that same impact.
And I think that's across the board. With these coaches are learning their personnel as they go throughout the year. And and I remember texted Marcus, Coach Freeman was like, "Hey, stay the course. You know what you're doing. You know how you got here. Don't second guess yourself." And that's the thing about it. He's like, and again, you got to check yourself. You can check yourself without second guessing yourself. In terms of, hey, what are we doing? And
go ahead and say it. Just check yourself, but don't wreck yourself.
Yeah, and just understand that, hey, you got here. You're the head coach for a reason. And people, I mean, I still kind of like, whoa, this cat's 36, 37 years old. He's young. He's learning this position just like his players are learning, and they're learning together. And it always comes back to that level of trust and commitment one to another. And you're starting to see that these players are starting to trust their coaches. The coaches are learning how to trust the players in big situations.
Do you trust the school allowing them to allow Marcus Freeman to learn as a young coach growing through this? Or do you believe Notre Dame is still on the win a championship now mission? We looking to get it done in 2 to 3 years.
I had to say it. Like I said, it depends on who you're talking about. Because I think they're, the university, they're comfortable with, 9, 10 wins a season. I mean, I don't think, a lot of people, and I've said it myself, I don't think we have the depth at this point. In particular, we don't have the quarterback position solidified to win a championship. Now, I think the university is willing. I mean, if he again gets on that winning trend and he's winning 9 to 10 games a season, I think they're fine with it. But I don't think he is. And that's a good thing, is because when you have a team, a staff, it doesn't matter what people say on the outside. And if you're not in that locker room, if you're not playing on that field, you're outside. And that goes for us former players as well. We can be there, supporting them, but it comes down to the guys in the locker room. I do believe, again, if he's winning 9, 10 games a season, the university is going to be fine with that. But in terms of it's the fan base that's pushing the championship component. And I just don't think we're at that level yet from a personnel standpoint, from a personnel depth standpoint. We have talent at positions, but we don't have the depth to consistently play with the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Alabamas. And to be honest with you, there's not a lot of teams that do have that depth.
Malik, you opened the door, so I'm gonna walk right through it. Because you mentioned being patient with Marcus Freeman. I want to know, is Marcus Freeman going to be given the opportunity?
That's right.
To make difficult decisions that might need to be made moving forward, whether it's recruiting or staff or whatever it is. If he's going to be the head guy, I hope he's going to have the backing to be able to make tough decisions if things don't go the way he thinks they should go, building the foundation for the future.
I hope so too. I mean, I think that's a key component. And it's important to have people around you trust. And that's the thing about it. Actually, I look at, Harry Hestead, and he's someone that he can lean on. Al Golden has that, he has that confidence in them. And I was around the staff during the fantasy camp week, and this staff they've gelled, at least from what I saw. They're out there. These guys are together. It's not like, okay, you over here and the offense over here, defense over here. These guys, Al, Stan, I mean, they hang out. They engage each other on both sides of the ball. And I think that's a huge piece of it when you have both offense and defensive coaches that actually like each other, want to be in each other's presence, because that spills over to the offense and the defensive players that, hey, I can, because I got to admit, like I said, when I was playing running back, I don't really hang out with DB. I mean, and at linebacker. I don't want to talk to y'all. But off the field, we were cool. But when it was on, practice time, it's game on, baby. We
Right.
gonna go at it. But when you saw your coaches that had that camaraderie, and again that competition, we competed with each other, not against each other. It was never about trying to, hey, I'm gonna do something to you. No, we're gonna make each other better. And I think that also works for my coaching staff. You compete to get better on both sides of the ball.
Lucky Lefty Podcast. A few more moments with our special guest on the Players Lounge, former Notre Dame legendary running back Reggie Brooks joins us. Let's get into this program as it moves forward under Marcus Freeman. I do a lot of recruiting work, and I can tell you now the class he has coming in 2023 offensively has a ton of speed. Like, speed will not be the problem on this roster next season when the 23 class arrives on campus. When you talk about what he's doing, and this is one of the key things, Malik, playing young guys is one thing, and being tempted to play young guys is another thing. But his willingness to say, yo, this is the future. I'm going to let them develop, the ones that need to continue to develop, because I'm not about to sacrifice the future for now. It's our job to coach up the guys that we have now to get them to the point, to go back to what you said, Reggie. We're talented enough to go win games and beat the teams that we're supposed to beat and compete with the teams like Clemson and USC that remain on the schedule. With the talent coming in, how important, I mean, we know it's important, but how important is it that we do start a run of quarterbacks and turn Notre Dame into one of the future quarterback U's looking forward?
That's critical. I mean, I've been saying this for a while. Notre Dame is a quarterback away from competing for a championship. I mean, that is the really the last position that we've not solidified. And I remember Malik he got hurt, but Shaun, I remember that it was like 2015, 2016 when we struggled. The year we struggled. We didn't have a defense. I mean, you got to put it all together, and we just have not been able to do that to where the offense complements the defense complements the offense, and and to consistently have a quarterback that's in position to make plays and change the dynamics of this team. I mean, we've gotten some top talented wide receivers. Love seeing Lorenzo Styles and how he's playing. Tight ends, offensive line, running backs. We just need that quarterback, that elite quarterback that changes the trajectory of the offense to where there's a level of consistency. Again, we don't, right now we don't necessarily need the quarterback to win the game. We just don't need him to lose it. And but if you're going to get to the pinnacle, you got to have a quarterback that can win you the football game. I mean, and that's a rare thing. But when you get that, you'll know it. It will be instantaneous that you see this offense at a whole nother level. And I'd look at Ohio State and CJ Stroud. I mean, that kid, he's a winner. And young at Alabama. I mean, those are those difference makers that change the dynamic of the team, especially when you get into one of those knockdown dragouts. You've seen both those kids step up and win a game.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's the last hurdle that Notre Dame needs to get over to really be ready to compete for a championship.
Leak, you got anything else before we let Reg go?
Man, I think he hit it right on the head, brother.
Man, Lucky Lefty Podcast. Did you guys have a game? With 3 running backs over 100 yards, total yards during your time?
No, we were usually, like I said, kind of 2 back at it, and it was like I know Jerome and I both actually went over 100 yards a couple of times. I mean, but that's when we were like running for 350, 400 yards rushing.
Man, that definitely is an impressive outing by Notre Dame. Hopefully the trend. I asked Malik this. What do you think this team's ceiling is moving forward?
You're going into the bye week and get some guys healthy, but there's got to be a level of confidence that has increased considerably with the way you won. It's one thing to win, because you look at the Cal game and we won that game, but we tried how many times to lose that game, but we found a way to win. Now you win and win convincingly. Now it's that next step. You can see the progression. You take that next step to where, hey, BYU is, when you play BYU, you're going to be in a dynamic atmosphere in Vegas. And that's where, hey, we're going to take that next step to where we're beat a team that is, considered, a top 25 team in some regards. So when you go beat that team, continue to build confidence, continue to build cohesiveness, and continue to build an identity. That's the thing that kind of bothered me the first year. Our offense had no identity. It was just like, do we pass? Are we going to be a zone team? Are we going to zone run? Are we going? It just was no continuity or consistency in the type of team we were going to be. And Coach Freeman talked about this. We're going to be a physical football team up front. And you saw that with a dominant performance by both the offense and defensive line. And you start there. When you have an identity, that's when you start winning games on a consistent basis. Because when you know who you are, it doesn't matter who you play. You're going to come in and do what you need to do.
Lucky Lefty Podcast. We thank Reggie Brooks for jumping into the Players Lounge today. Reg, continued success in all your endeavors. And hopefully, are you going out to Vegas?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll see you out there, bro.
Let's catch up.
No doubt, no doubt. Have a great day.
All right, fellas. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Once again, that was the OG Reggie Brooks joining us on the Lucky Lefty Podcast Players Lounge. We bring to you each and every Monday right here, brought to you by Onora Whisky. Man, he said some really good stuff, bro. He said some really good stuff. And I think you have to be encouraged to hear the things he said, not only about the coaching staff, but the future and recruiting and the development that's to come, but to point out what we've been saying. Notre Dame really is truly a quarterback away, an impact quarterback away from legitimately being a contender for the national championship.
That's right.
I don't know if many teams can say that. And I'm happy to be in that position. I would love to be in the position that Georgia and Alabama sits in right now. But I know that if I can just get me a quarterback, an impact quarterback, things will be looking really good. Now we just have to go out and do it. And I understand why the fan base is kind of on that, because it hasn't been done. And they feel a certain way about that position and how it's been developed or how things have looked over the past decade. But what do you say? Another man's trash is another man's gold.
That's right.
It's a lot of Division I programs wishing they were Notre Dame.
Oh, of course. They wish they was a quarterback away.
Absolutely. Let's get to some of these questions before we get out of here, Luck. Cool kid who always taps in. Shaun, are y'all beating BYU? Because depending on your answer, I'm going to place a bet on Notre Dame. Well, can I toot my own horn for a second? Did I not say that Notre Dame would jump out early and contain, and North Carolina would get points late in the game? Did I not say that? Did I not say that Notre Dame would be up 10 at halftime? I said it would be 17-7. It ended up being 24-14. The way I thought the game would go is the exact way it went. I thought Notre Dame would seize control, get out to a lead, build on that lead, and then I knew North Carolina was going to be throwing the ball and would be able to get some points late. And that's exactly what happened. So, yes, watching BYU even struggle against Wyoming a little bit and not being able to run the ball, but just having the best quarterback in that game.
Yes.
They had the better quarterback and they were able to come away with the win. So even though the game is out west, closer to Provo, it's going to be a home field advantage for Notre Dame because Notre Dame fans are definitely going to show up. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. I think, if I'm not mistaken, let me check this betting line because I thought Notre Dame was favored early, bro.
We should be.
And this is according to the Vegas Insider. Yeah, what I
We should
saw,
be favored the rest of the season, honestly.
Notre Dame is minus 9.5 from minus 6.5 on FanDuel. They are minus 9.5 on Open. Bet MGM has them at minus 7. So Notre Dame is nearly a touchdown favorite in this game, bro. That's
Nearly.
that's a top 25 team. Notre Dame now will have two top 25 wins in the month of October if they beat BYU and Syracuse. So they'll get back into the top 25 with this October run. So yes, I would say, cool kid, go ahead and bet Notre Dame to win that game by double digits because I think physically they're going to impose their will on BYU similar to the way Oregon did.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have no respect for Oregon's quarterback, so I would venture to say that Notre Dame has a better quarterback than Oregon.
Yes. I think we have a better quarterback, but we play to our competition.
That could be said as well. Andres Nieto. The left side of the O line was collapsing. That D line looked like a black hole over there for Estimate. Yeah, Jared Patterson and Joe Alt did work all day. All day. They dominated that game. Sometimes I was questioning why Tommy even ran to the right. You have to show some balance, but I'm like, yo, that's like McGlinchey and Nelson. Like, why are we playing?
Why are we
Why are we
playing?
playing? Run over there, especially on a 4th and 1. Like, you got
Especially.
Drew Pyne at 5'10", 100 at what, 90 pounds? What a quarterback sneak. Man, get his 250-pound running back the ball and let him run behind the left side of the offensive line. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, at least we've been
And
able to clean up the scheme and what we wanted to look like. We don't have a
yeah,
guy that's dynamic enough to be a threat as a runner. So we if we're gonna run, it's gonna come from our backs,
yeah,
which cleans up the play calling of okay, we got to get these guys carries, but also get Tyler going by getting him some carries too.
yeah. Good morning, LL Nation. All things considered, 2-2 going into the bye week will do. Time to learn from the last 4 games and continue to improve. We appreciate you, Base ND in Doma. You take this left. Christopher Galloway taps in. Do we get to see the Prince starting against BYU?
Probably not. I think we've signed our fate with these linebackers until one of them has to be rolled off the field, and so we're just gonna have to play around it, and hopefully these
Yeah,
guys develop.
yeah.
And if the young guys get in, hopefully they flash to where they have to stay in. And so I think that's just going to be a talking point of the season. I don't think they're going to change that just from leadership and some veteran experience. I'm gonna assume that. And so it's okay. We roll with it, but we also know that Marcus Freeman, on the other hand, he don't want to play his hand too early either. You
Hmm.
know, he still got these guys in the saddle that he's developing and building. Put Bayless on them for a year. They're gonna come out looking twice as good as when he got them. So I think he knows that he has to. He's at the bottom of the juice carton, so he got to finish that last little sip, and he can open up that fresh juice. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't open up the new one when I still got that little bit left.
That's the worst, right? Have you ever bought drinks. Like I like ginger ale, bro.
Oh
So
yeah.
I usually buy like the 1 liters of
Mm,
the Schweppes ginger ale, and
mm.
then I'll misplace the one that I open, and I can't find it,
And it's
and I
over.
know as soon as I open this new one, I'm going to find the other one. Like, where did I leave it? And now you feel like, oh my god, I just wasted a whole bottle. But
See, what you got to do is you got to get the mini cans.
those tick me off, bro.
What?
I'll end up throwing those. Like, man, this bull.
The mini cans get you right. You'd be surprised. They pack a punch, man.
The mini cans reminds me of my uncle's bar as a shorty, though.
Yeah.
That was the first time I saw a mini can. Like, dude, why do you have these mini cans of Coke and Pepsi? Like, what's going on? That's for my
It's
Jack
mixing
when I
drinks.
get home.
That's right.
And that's for my
That's
Jack
right.
Daniels when I get home. I said, okay.
That's right.
All right, here you go, man. Last question of the day, and then we'll get to the petty train. Once again, Christopher Galloway. What do you think, Left, looking at those plays at the end of the game?
You know, you at the end of the game, you're always trying to scramble to try to make a last play. You may take a gamble. You know, lack of focus. When you up that much, you kind of relaxed a little bit more. And if it's like 20 seconds left and you blowing a team out and you coach throw you in the last 20 seconds, you're a little pissed off anyway. So, I'm not chalking up to anything serious, but I know that our secondary is getting better each week.
One of the things that came out this weekend was to get to see the joy in the locker room as Marcus Freeman got an opportunity to talk to his guys. And let's go ahead and share that video when he talked about the process over the outcome.
The best thing about this, man, remember, it's not the outcome, man. Continue to focus on the things that determine the outcome. That's what I'm most proud of this group. The way you come every single day and prepare. That's why we have a chance to have success. Because you bring your butts to work every day. Every day you go and you prepare. And that's got to be our key. We just got to continue to get better. Right? We don't worry about the show. We got to win. We got to do this. No. We just got to continue to get better. Let the outcome take care of itself. Everybody clear. We continue to prepare like animals, man. That's who we are. You hear me? Stay together. Continue to love each other, man. Continue to push each other. Unit strength, man. Choose hard. Choose unit strength. Everybody good?
We got the swaggiest coach in college football, dog. Even dude, you look at him, you're like, yes. Who wouldn't want to play for this dude? We just have to start stacking wins, and we'll start getting the Keon Keelys. I truly believe that. That's all. We have to stack the wins, improve, keep recruiting the same way. 24 will be better than 23. 25 will be better than 24. And eventually, kids like Keon Keeley, they'll lock in.
He'll come around. It's clear to see that Keon is just a bandwagon at the moment. So good thing about us, we're going to get better towards the end and look good when it comes time to him making a decision. But clearly, he's just going with whatever's hot right now.
And, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Follow trends. If you're a trend baby, then that's who you are.
That's these kids these days, man. They love the trends.
Petticoat, petticoat, petticoat junction.
It's time to get petty
We did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
and fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty historic Petty Junction?
Petty Junction, petty stories of the day brought to you by Onora Whisky, OnoraWhisky.com, that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhisky.com. Hey, bro, I'm a White Sox fan, right?
That's right.
So I don't know if you know this, but, for all purposes, the season has been over, right? Since Cleveland came in and swept the Bums last week. But yesterday, the Cleveland Guardians became the AL Central champs. kudos for them for playing baseball the right way. And had this.
Let me see.
You know what? I'll just play it from my I'll play it from a Twitter feed, dude. Because I gotta play this because this is super petty. But you know when somebody's being super petty against your squad, it's like, you know what? I can't even hate. I can't even hate. It was one of the funniest things that I saw yesterday. And so this is all right, here we go. They're celebrating.
About their own team?
Dude. So that was Class A, the closer for the Cleveland Guardians. And you heard in the background while they were celebrating, people saying F the White Sox. Like not for nobody else, just F the White Sox. Super petty, but I'm glad they said it. Because this season was a show of the most careless, egotistical, arrogant front office / players I've ever seen in my life on the south side of Chicago.
Oh my goodness.
A
Get
team
it.
it hasn't even won a playoff series, walking around like they were repeat champs or going for a repeat. I'm glad they got their butts kicked.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
glad Cleveland was super petty with it. I'm glad they were super petty. Super petty. Ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
I'm going to be super petty too. I'm going to tip my cap to you, Luck. That cat Josh Allen can't miss that pass, bro.
Oh, well, we know.
All that talk about how great he is.
Listen. All I got to say is not surprised. Not surprised. Look, you can't get me to react about this guy because I've been telling you. It's whenever he flashes, y'all love to come out the woodworks. Oh, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, blah, 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 blah. And then right when you need him the most, in a division game.
Yeah.
Right in the division game. Where you need those wins.
Yeah.
Against wee little Miami, wee little. And then you doing stuff like that. If I was their coach, I would have did the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you fooled us again, Josh Allen. You fooled us again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, you see a guy, though, in Cincinnati going in righting them wrongs the last 2 weeks. And it really wasn't his fault the first two. But we're not going to talk about that. He's going to take the credit for that. Still with no offensive line, doing his damn thing. Shout out to my man, Joe Breezy.
So, hey, man. So, weird weekend of college football, weird weekend in the NFL. It's just one of those weird weekends, man. Everything was off the rail. Lucky Lefty podcast. We appreciate you guys for tapping in today. And, I see cats really going at it. the chat is live today. I ignore some people, man. Right? Like I was talking about Maris Leofow and how Al Golden was using him. And someone pointed out that he was, in the middle to stop the quarterback from rushing. He lined up on the edge of the defense when he did that, which means Al Golden put him in space, like I said.
Like you said.
Like I said. He lined up on the edge, both sides, as a pass rusher 22 times against North Carolina. 22, which was far more than he was used in that way the first 3 games. So once again, like I said, Al Golden is getting used to his talent and putting them in advantageous situations to accent what they do well. Thank you.
Something we haven't had for a while.
Thank you. Coaching. We appreciate you, Al. Lucky Lefty Podcast. The chat is wild, dude. They going at it. Be nice to each other, man. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Another great episode. We gave you guys a snippet of the Brian Smith YouTube video that went viral. He is a recruiting analyst for Sports Illustrated, national recruiting analyst. He's going to join us on Wednesday to talk about why Notre Dame continues to struggle to get quarterbacks and specifically top athletes out of the state of Florida. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. We'll have him Wednesday to talk about that. And we'll be back tomorrow to talk more in depth about what Marcus Freeman had to say about his team and what he's going to be able to say in his first press conference. No. I take that back. No presser from Marcus Freeman because of the bye week. I apologize for that. So we'll focus on what he said after the game, and we'll dig some more into what we're going to do moving forward in this bye week. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great day. Most of all, make sure you